We'll start for chapter 4, verse number 15 onwards. It's the end of the second section of chapter 4. 4 sections in chapter 4. First section is E, Eternal Education, verses 1 to 10. Where Krishna gives the history of Bhagavad Gita, how he spoke it to Sun God before. Now because it's lost, he is speaking it to Arjuna again. And then he speaks about the nature of his appearance, nature of his transcendental body. What are his activities? They are divine. And anyone who understands this basic philosophy about Krishna and his divine nature, just that the Lord doesn't belong to this material world, he is coming from the spiritual world. If we simply understand this fact, then we are eligible to go back to the spiritual world. And that is 1 to 10. So that is transcendental knowledge. And what is the accurate understanding is between 11 to 15. How to actually understand. And then the third section is reactions. 6 verses 16 to 24. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to read through section verses number 16 to 24 and then come back for a breakup. So 4.15 is what we didn't do last time. I just want to read a small section from the purport, so then immediately we connect back to where we were. Just below that page, it should be. Please repeat. Evam nyatva kritam karma.
Evam nyatva kritam karma.
Purverapi mumukshubhihi.
Purverapi mumukshubhihi.
Guru karmaiva tasmatvam.
Guru karmaiva tasmatam.
Purvehe purvataram kritam.
Purvehe purvataram kritam.
We'll read the translation together. All the liberated souls in ancient times acted with this understanding of my transcendental nature. Therefore, you should perform your duty following in their footsteps. Yeah? So here he is giving the actually understanding that we shouldn't apply our own intelligence, our own mind. Why? Because in the previous chapter, at the end of the third chapter, Krishna reveals that our intelligence is already contaminated by lust. So only the lust will speak through our intelligence and through our mind. So we have to use Krishna's intelligence, Krishna's mind, because that is all pure. What intelligence or what knowledge Krishna gives us, that we should be able to apply, just as how others have applied in the past. So here in the purport, Prabhupada writes a very important thing. He says there are 2 classes of men. Can you see that part? Just in the beginning he says there are 2 classes of men. Some of them are full of polluted material things within their hearts. That's category 1. Category 2, some of them are materially free. That's category 2. Krishna consciousness is equally beneficial for both of these persons. Yeah? Category 1, who are materially polluted, and those who are materially free. You might think that if a person is materially free, what is the use of Krishna consciousness for them? Because they are already pure. What is the use for that? That is, those who are full of dirty things can take to the line of Krishna consciousness for a gradual cleansing process, following the regulative principles of devotional service. So that way it is beneficial to those people. Those who are already cleansed of impurities may continue to act in the same Krishna consciousness so that others may follow their exemplary activities and thereby be benefited. So you understand? So those who are already pure still need to do their duties now that they are free. Why do they need to do? So that they set an example for others to follow. Right? Foolish persons or neophytes in Krishna consciousness often want to retire from activities without having knowledge of Krishna consciousness. Arjun's desire to retire from activities on the battlefield was not approved by the Lord. Okay? So if we are householders, if we are housewives, if we are taking care of children, we think Krishna consciousness means just leave everything. Many people have this misconception, but Krishna says he does not approve of it. Arjun's desire to retire was not approved by the Lord. One need only know how to act. to retire from activities of Krishna consciousness and to sit aloof making a show of Krishna consciousness is less important than actually engaging in field of activities for the sake of Krishna. Yeah? So from 16 to 24, what Krishna is going to teach us? He teaches us the art of, this is supposed to be ART. Art of working for him. Yeah? So 4.16 onwards, he personally starts presenting how to work for him. How these normal activities, that is karma, the normal things that we're doing, any activity, breathing, eating, walking, everything is karma. Anything that we do will give us a particular reaction. How that karma has to be transformed into a karma. That means you're doing the things that you would, but it's not going to give you any sinful reaction, any material reaction, good or bad. Good also gets you back into the cycle of birth and death. It's actually the same thing, right? So how karma transforms into a karma. How work can be seen as inactivity, can be seen as. Like when you see that person, you will feel as if they're doing everything that they normally would, but actually they're not getting any karma, they're not getting any reaction.
Somebody wants lectures, kirtans, anything? Or just ask me to ask anybody. Nobody wants anything?
I was asking for this boy, if it's on Sunday or in the evenings or evenings or whatever option.
Sunday if you start any classes.
Or in the evenings or in the mornings, early morning. But
Sundays, only Sundays.
no, any day. I mean, I have to give him the option, whatever is there, so we'll choose accordingly.
We can give him,
Is
no?
that person.
I also do that. I have to pass it on to somebody.
Okay,
who is
so we'll give it to her.
somebody's brother.
No, nobody wants kirtan lectures.
Right. So Arjun here is advised to act in Krishna consciousness, following in footsteps of Lord's previous disciples. Can you see that? Such as the sun god Vivaswan, as mentioned here and before. The Supreme Lord knows all his past activities, means his own activities he knows, as well as those of persons who have acted in Krishna consciousness in the past. That means if you've done any devotional service, Krishna will always remember it, he will not forget. Therefore, he recommends the act of sun god who learned this art from the Lord some millions of years before. It's funny, you know, how Prabhupada writes some millions of years before. All such students of Lord Krishna are mentioned here as past liberated persons engaged in discharge of duties allotted by Krishna. So the position of sun god was given to Vivaswan by Krishna, and then Krishna gave him the knowledge of how to behave in that way and still not get entangled. That's so from 4.16 to 24. Now we'll read all the shlokas and then we'll come back for the breakup. Yeah, can we start? Verse 16, please repeat. Kim karma kim akarmeti
किं कर्म किमकर्मेति
कवयोऽप्यत्र मोहिताः
कवयोऽप्यत्र मोहिताः
तत्ते कर्म प्रवक्ष्यामि
तत्ते कर्म प्रवक्ष्यामि
यज्ञात्वा मोक्ष्यसे शुभात्
यज्ञात्वा मोक्ष्यसे शुभात्.
Translation, everyone. Even the intelligent are bewildered in determining what is action and what is inaction. Now I shall explain to you what action is, knowing which you shall be liberated from all misfortune. Yeah? So to understand what is action. 17. Karmano hyapi bodhavyam
कर्मणो यदि बोद्धव्यम्
बोधव्यं च विकर्मणः
बोद्धव्यं च विकर्मणः
अकर्मणश्च बोधव्यम्
अकर्मणश्च बोद्धव्यम्
गहना कर्मणो गतिः
गहना कर्मणो गतिः.
Together, translation. The intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. Yeah, all three categories of karma one should understand. Verse 18. Karmanya karmaya paschet
कर्मण्यकर्मश्चेत्
akarmani cha karmayah
अकर्मण्ये च कर्मयः
सबुद्धिमान् मनुष्येषु
सबुद्धिमान् मनुष्येषु
सयुक्तः कृत्स्नकर्मकृत्.
सयुक्तः कृष्णकर्मकृत्.
Translation: one who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is intelligent among men, and he is in the transcendental position, although engaged in all sorts of activities. That sounds very bewildering. It's very easy to understand. 19. यस्य सर्वे समारम्भाः
यस्य सर्वे समारम्भाः
कामसङ्कल्पवर्जिताः
कामसङ्कल्पवर्जिताः
ज्ञानाग्निदग्धकर्माणम्
ज्ञानाग्निदग्धकर्माणम्
तमाहु पण्डितं बुधाः.
तमाहु पण्डितं बुधाः.
Together. One is understood to be in full knowledge whose every endeavor is devoid of desire for sense gratification. He is said by sages to be a worker for whom the reactions of work have been burned up by the fire of perfect knowledge. 20th. Tyaktva karma phalasangam
त्यक्त्वा कर्मफलासङ्गम्
नित्यतृप्तो निराश्रयः
नित्यतृप्तो निराश्रयः
कर्मण्य अभिप्रवृत्तोऽपि
कर्मण्य अभिप्रवृत्तोऽपि
नैव किञ्चित् करोति सः.
नैव किञ्चित् करोति सः.
Translation: abandoning all attachments to the results of his activities, ever satisfied and independent, he performs no fruitive action, although engaged in all kinds of undertakings. 21st. निराशीर्यत चित्तात्मा
निराशीर्यत चित्तात्मा
त्यक्त सर्व परिग्रह
त्यक्त सर्व परिग्रह
शरीरं केवलं कर्म
शरीरं केवलं कर्म
कुर्वन्नाप्नोति किल्बिषम्.
पूर्वं नाप्नोति किल्बिषम्.
Translation: such a man of understanding acts with mind and intelligence perfectly controlled, gives up all sense of proprietorship over his possessions, and acts only for the necessities of life. Thus working, he is not affected by sinful reactions. 22. यदृच्छालाभ संतुष्टो
यदृच्छालाभ संतुष्टो
द्वन्द्वातीतो विमत्सरः
द्वन्द्वातीतो विमत्सरः
समः सिद्धावसिद्धौ च
समसिद्धावसिद्धौ च
कृत्वापि न निबध्यते.
कृत्वापि न निबध्यते.
Translation: he who is satisfied with gain which comes of its own accord, who is free from duality and does not envy, who is steady in both success and failure, is never entangled although performing actions. You see this again and again, the Lord is repeating. He's doing everything normal but he's not getting reactions. He's doing everything normal but he's not getting any reactions. गतसङ्गस्य मुक्तस्य
गतसङ्गस्य मुक्तस्य
ज्ञानावस्थितचेतसः
ज्ञानावस्थितचेतसः
यज्ञायाचरतः कर्म
यज्ञायाचरतः कर्म
समग्रं प्रवलीयते.
समग्रं प्रवलीयते.
Translation, everyone. The work of a man who is unattached to the modes of material nature and who is fully situated and transcendental knowledge merges entirely into transcendence. Last one. Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir
ब्रह्मार्पणं ब्रह्महविः
Brahmagnau Brahmanahutam
ब्रह्माग्नौ ब्रह्मणाहुतं
Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam
ब्रह्मैव तेन गन्तव्यम्
Brahmakarma Samadhina.
ब्रह्मकर्म समाधिना.
Translation: Last thing. A person who is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to attain the spiritual kingdom because of his full contribution to spiritual activities, in which the consummation is absolute and that which is offered is of the same spiritual nature. This last verse 24 is a little different because he introduces the next concept, sacrifices. So here he is mentioning about offering. We go back to 16th. And so in 15th I told you Krishna tells Arjuna to fight with knowledge of Krishna's position, knowing Krishna's position, to fight for the sake of Krishna, and gave Arjuna example of other senior devotees in the past. And then he starts the part of how to transform karma into akarma. That means you're doing everything normal but you're not getting any material reactions for it. Starting from 4.16, Krishna starts presenting art of working for him. Means he's starting it. Kim karma kim karmeti,
Kim karma kim karmeti,
kavayopyatra mohitaha,
kavayopyatra mohitaha,
tatte karma pravakshyami,
tatte karma pravakshyami,
yajñatva mokshase shubhat.
yajñatva mokshase shubha.
Neha, you read the translation.
Even the intelligent are bewildered in determining what is action and what is inaction. Now I shall explain to you what action is, knowing which you shall be liberated from all misfortune.
Right. So here, because Arjun was thinking that my God, I'm doing such sinful, dreadful activities, I'm going to get so many sinful reactions. Even my dynasties are going to suffer because of my sinful activities. Yeah. So here, and singing is only going to bring misfortune. That's what he says in the first and the beginning of the second chapter. So here the Lord says how to avoid misfortune altogether, how to act in a way which doesn't give you any material reactions. So he is saying that even the intelligent people often get confused. What is good karma, what is bad karma, and how to act. It's so difficult to understand. So here the Lord says, I'll make it more easy for you. Right? 17th. Karmano hyapi bodhavyam,
Karmano yapi bodhavyam,
bodhavyam cha vikarmanaha,
bodhavyam cha vikarmanah,
akarmanascha bodhavyam,
akarmanascha bodhavyam,
gahana karmano gatihi.
gahana karmano gatihi.
Translation.
The intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is.
Yeah. So now he is introducing in 4.17. This pen is there is karma, there is vikarma, 3 types of karma Krishna is introducing, and akarma. What is under karma? Good actions which give us good or pious punya. Good reactions. This is writing a short form. Vikarma is exactly the opposite. Bad actions which give us bad reactions. Akarma,
Neutral.
Action, Krishna consciousness, neutral action.
or in other words, working for pleasure of Krishna. Right? Karma, good actions, something beneficial to someone, given in charity. Did something which is accidentally or purposely good for someone else. So then you get the good reaction back. Right? Even if it is done accidentally, unknowingly. Vikarma, same thing. Accidentally or knowingly, you do something unbeneficial to someone else. Or in other words, something which is forbidden in the Vedas. Anything prohibited in the Vedas when we act. Vikarma, basically there are 4 categories, because dharma, we always do this in journey of self-discovery. Remember, dharma, we have 4 pillars of religion. 4 pillars of dharma. There is truth, which is the first pillar. And then there is cleanliness. there's austerity, the third pillar, and the fourth pillar is the goal. Japa, tapa, satyam, shaucham, tapa, and
Charity, not charity.
satyam, shaucham, mercy, daya. Any normal society to function, these four things are extremely important. People who are truthful, good dealings, even in a family, if you see, in a society, in a family, even in one location, for a city to prosper, for a country to prosper, these four things are extremely important. Cleanliness, internal and external both. Yeah, and then austerity. That means being able to tolerate differences. Even in a family, you need that. And then mercy. If you have to stay independently, it's very easy. The minute there's someone else in the room, there is adjustment. That is austerity, to tolerate. And then daya, mercy, to let go, forgiveness. A soft heart is very much important. These four things are extremely important. These are the pillars of dharma. These are the pillars, four pillars of religion. Anything which destroys this is vikar. Yeah? More specifically, what destroys mercy? Meat eating. What destroys austerity? Intoxication. Intoxication includes drugs, alcohol. If you see, major crime in the society is related to alcohol and drugs. A person loses his sense of sanity and then he performs such actions. So austerity. Cleanliness, sex out of marriage, extramarital affairs. Truth. What destroys truth? Gambling. These four things are specifically vikarma. Yeah? If you see any crime in the society is always revolving around these things. Buying, women, gambling, and it's always around this. Wherever in a society these things enter, then there's going to be no prosperity. Even the future generations will not be able to prosper. So truth, cleanliness, austerity, this all falls under vikarma. Can I erase this? Because it's an extra point. And then last is akarma, which Krishna will present now. It is neutral, working for the pleasure of Krishna. So intricacies of action are very hard to understand, therefore one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, that's vikarma, and what inaction is, that is akarma. Right? 18. Karmanya karma yaha pasched.
Karmanya karmana pasched.
Akarmani cha karmayaha.
Akarmani cha karmayaha.
Sabuddhiman manusyeshu.
Sabuddhiman manusyeshu.
Sayuktaha kritsna karma krit.
Sayuktaha Krishna karma krit.
Bhairavi, translation.
One who sees inaction in inaction and action in inaction is intelligent among men, and he is in the transcendental position, although engaged in all sorts of activities.
Yeah, so how to understand this? Can everyone read the translation again?
Yeah, one who
All of them.
sees inaction in action and action in inaction is intelligent among men.
Okay, first part. One who sees inaction in action and
Action in inaction.
action in inaction. So let's understand only this first part. Is intelligent among men. So one who understands inaction in action. Understanding that how by acting I can still get no reactions. That means inaction. And one who thinks, one who understands that how inaction will actually drag me to the point of acting. That means there are two categories. Some people who think that how can I avoid reactions even while doing my normal things. And there are some people who think activity means trouble, so activity karne ka hi nahi. Everything I'll take, I'll just run away, I'll take sannyas. This is what Arjun wanted to do. Yeah? But even if you take sannyas, you will breathe. Will you breathe or you won't breathe? Stop breathing. You have to breathe. You have to live. You'll eat. What will you do to eat? Beg? You will say that, I've given up everything. But you will still have to eat something. To eat something, you'll have to beg. That's again action. Yeah? Eating is still action. Okay, fine, I don't beg. I go, whatever I find in the forest, I will eat.
Breathing is also an action.
Breathing is again an action. I'm saying that's the basic thing that some person has to do. Second thing, he'll go to the forest, he'll pick up something, pick up a fruit. That again is action. Drink water, that is again action. That is your borrowing. Na? Are you independent? Are we staying on an island? Even if you're an island, we're still surviving on that island. Yeah, so we are actually dependent on so many things around us. How can we give up action? So a person who understands that action is impossible to give up, but reactions is possible to be given up. Yeah? You have to put your hand down.
Yeah, so my neck is paining, so just.
You can maybe shift.
It's not, I forgot my collar today. Want to cover the back?
Oh.
It is not about back or something. It just pains us, so I just put your hand on the back. No, I'm sorry, I'll put it down.
Where am I now? Yeah. So here, without when does a person perform this in action? This is devotional service. When every activity of that person is for Krishna, then that every activity of that person becomes devotional service, becomes bhakti. Right? So will that person get any material reaction for it? No. Only spiritual blessings. Correct? So here, this activity has to be done this is very important. Whenever an activity is performed for Krishna's pleasure, without the contamination of seeking a reward, then you are not entitled to any reaction for it. You do it for pleasure of Krishna. If there is some activity because of which Krishna will not be pleased, you will not do it. Yeah? And for doing it for pleasure of Krishna, what's this hidden motivation? There is no contamination of seeking a reward. The only reward is Krishna's pleasure. That is inaction in action.
So, seeking also for a reward is also your.
What is your reward? Someone else's pleasure. Who can do that? You're not getting anything.
So you're trying to say that if you're doing devotional service with an expectation of a reward,
Yeah, then.
it may be any material, emotional, spiritual, whatever.
Yeah.
So then that is
Because
also
devotees
the
also get trapped into rewards of pride, into rewards of recognition. Devotees also get
That is
trapped.
not inaction.
And that is not
That's not
devotional
inaction, that's not
service.
devotional.
Because it's my
Expecting something, you're doing this.
some motivation. Actually, Rupa Goswami gives a perfect definition for devotional service. He says, Anya Vilashita Shunyam.
Zero expectation.
Yeah. Anya Abhilasha. Shunyam. That means any other motivation is Shunya, is zero. That is the first definition of devotional service. Jnana Karmadyanavritam Anukulena Krishnanu Shilanam Bhaktir Uttamam. He says, what is Uttam Bhakti? Of course, even if he is doing, even if it's for, say, suppose I'm doing book distribution. No, I distributed 1,000 Bhagavad Gita. I didn't. I'm just kidding. Suppose I go and tell her, you know what I did? Or I do in a certain way that, Roma goes and tells everyone, I distributed so many things. Is Krishna pleased? He is pleased that I distributed, I made that effort. But because I have that want of recognition in my heart, it's not pure bhakti. It's not pure, it's not the ultimate. I'm not saying you will not get a benefit of that. In fact, that will become like a catalyst to get purified later on. Or Krishna will teach us a lesson later on. Not teach us a lesson like this, but give us an opportunity to learn later. But at that point of time, it's not Uttam Bhakti. Uttam Bhakti is Anyabhilashita Shunyam. No want of Gyan, no want of good pious activities or any, I should, if I give 10 nariyal, if I give to Krishna, I'll get some maybe 10 lakh rupees or 10 crores of rupees or some want. And then Anukulena Krishnanu, for it should be favorable to Krishna. Because even Kans was constantly thinking of Krishna. Was it bhakti? Yeah, he wanted to kill Krishna. Constantly he was gathering forces, constantly he was gathering people, all those, Aghasur and the brother Bakasur and then sister Putana and Trinavrat. So many demons were attacking Krishna. Why? Because Kans was constantly thinking of Krishna. Was that bhakti? Was it meditation? Because it's not favorable to Krishna. And in Nectar of Devotion, again, Rupa Goswami writes a very beautiful part where he says that Yashoda, when she was feeding Krishna, what happened? She saw that the milk was boiling and it's falling off the fire, falling off the vessel. So it's all going to go waste. And if it's wasted, then she'll not be able to make sweets for Krishna out of that wonderful milk. It's very special milk. So what does she do? She puts Krishna down. And then she goes immediately to take that vessel off the fire. So apparently Krishna gets very upset. He starts kicking the floor and he says that, what is this? How can you put me down? I want milk, I'm hungry. And he is displeased. Is this bhakti?
This was bhakti actually, because immediately she was thinking of...
She was displeased Krishna. Krishna kicked up a storm. He actually, took up a stick and he broke all the pots around him because he was so upset. And then later on he realized, okay, kuch zyada hi kar diya, so he ran away. Yeah. So was it bhakti? The third definition, Anukulena Krishnanu, favorable to Krishna. Because it is favorable to Krishna, it is bhakti. She was not thinking कि अभी दूध जल जाएगा, पैसा waste हो जाएगा. She was thinking no, that this is for Krishna. I'll not be able to make sweets for Krishna. That's why she ran immediately. That was her consciousness. So that is bhakti.
So Krishna didn't realize that she's doing it from you.
That's why he ran away. He did, but then he wants to teach us through his devotees that what is actual bhakti. That's why Krishna is saying here in the previous verse, in the 16th verse, he said that even intelligent people don't understand what is bhakti, what is not bhakti. Is difficult. So you have to be very carefully paying attention.
Then why got angry? He had to perform.
It's a leela because actually he had to liberate the Arjuna trees. There were two sons of twin sons of Kuvera who were Nala Kuvera and Manikra who were trapped in these Arjuna trees. Now Krishna had to be tied up. There has to be some mischief. So then because he did this, Yashoda might thought that this person is just going to harm himself and have so many other things to finish. So she ties him up to this grinding mortar. And then he drags the grinding mortar in between the Arjuna trees and the Arjuna trees. Do you know the story? You will tell us, no, next time? No. Fine. 4.18, so we understand what is inaction and action. And now, some people who think that I will not perform any activity, any action. And that will not give me any reactions. Is that possible? So that person will have to breathe, the person will have to eat, and that will give him give him or her reactions. So even an immature renunciant can think, okay, oh, I can perform inaction. It's not possible. Actually, the equation is given. It's so wonderful. It's like this. If you try to renounce artificially, unengaged senses, your senses want to do something, but they have nothing to do, and you have an impure mind, and that's always dangerous. Rather, you engage your senses in Krishna's service, your mind starts becoming pure. That's devotional service. So, and every soul is unavoidably active. You find no one who's actually inactive. Even if they're sitting, that's also an action. They're breathing, that's also an action. Eating is also an action. Because the soul by nature is active. There is no way. Engagement in Krishna consciousness or for the pleasure of Krishna is the best recourse. So in the next verse, Krishna says 4.18. Sorry, 4.18 we finished. So he says, he is in transcendental position although engaged in all sorts of activities. So the person in the first category is better. 19. Yasya sarve samarambhaah Kama sankalpa varjitaah Jnanagni dagdha karmanam Tamahu panditam buddhaah. Translation.
One is understood to be in full knowledge, whose every endeavor is devoid of desire for sense gratification. He is said by sages to be a worker for whom the reactions of work have been burned up by the fire of perfect knowledge.
Yeah. So you see that word dagdha over there in the translation. What does dagdha mean? Burned. That means this person is performing actions, but his reactions may be burned up. They're not there. Yeah, because he has no selfish motivation. He has no motivation of self gratification. One is understood to be in full knowledge whose every endeavor is devoid of any motivation, of any desire for sense gratification. He is said by sages to be a worker for whom the reactions of work have been burned up by fire of perfect knowledge. That means his transcendental knowledge is so full in his heart that whatever reactions are being accumulated, this fire of transcendental knowledge is burning everything. Yeah? Like in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is a story about Pundrik Vidyanidhi. Yeah? That person, he seemed like a very normal materialist. He used to, he was a big, he was at a very high government post. So, he used to wear these royal silks and he would always have, these bracelets and everything. So if you would look at him, he would look like a very normal materialistic person. So devotee, he took Gadadhar Pandit. He took him, there was another associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he took him to meet this person saying that, today I'll get you to meet a very pure devotee. We'll hear Krishna Katha from him. So when Gadadhar came there and he saw this Pundrik Vidyanidhi and he's actually lying down in a very beautiful silk couch and then he had these so many servants. I was thinking that, and actually his hair was smeared with scented oil, so actually you would think ye hum log ko Krishna Katha, sometimes you just often expect a sannyasi or something like that. So Pundrik Vidyanidhi, he was there. So immediately this devotee understood that Gadadhar is seeing this person with a material vision, material eyes. So immediately this devotee, he started reciting a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto. This is the part where Putana, she is liberated by Krishna. It's actually, this verse is Aho Bakiyam Stana Kalukutam. He says, that Baki is, who? Sister of Bakasur,
Yeah.
Bakasur came to try to kill Krishna. Baki is the sister of Baka. That is another name for Putana. So Putana, she came to Krishna for what?
Take his life.
Her only motivation was to kill him. And how to kill him?
By giving him milk.
Yeah, but she wanted to give him milk, but actually her breast was smeared with the deadly Kalakutam. It was actually deadly poison. She came to Krishna. What did Krishna do? He took the milk, he took the poison, he took out her life hair, sucked out her life hair, actually killed her. Yeah? But because she fed him milk, that's the position of a mother. What did he do? He gave her, he liberated her, not only liberated her, but gave her a position in the spiritual world of a nurse. A nurse is just like a mother. Sometimes, like a Daya who takes care of of Krishna, and then Mother Yashoda is busy. That position he gave to Putana. The Putana is who? She's to drink blood of babies. Imagine killing is another criminal activity, but killing infant babies, and how? By drinking their blood. She was a witch. She's actually a witch. She's called Kechri or something. There's some Prabhupada used a particular word for her. That they're very deadly people. People actually they protect their infants from such buri nazar and all these, and they protect the infants from such witches who are so demonic in nature. But what did Krishna see? No, but she fed me milk. Even though there was poison and her motivation was completely wrong, what did Krishna see? That this is the Supreme Lord, His mercy is he's so moody. He can just do anything. Sometimes he'll see your intention, sometimes he'll just, and I remember one particular, also in 10th canto, there's a particular part where Krishna is fighting. It's a proper war. Shishupal, Jarasan attacked Krishna, attacked Dwarka 17 times. Krishna would kill his entire army, all his friends in their armies, and he would leave Jarasan. He would not kill Jarasan. 17 times he did not kill Jarasan. He left him. Hija. You go. Why? Because Jarasan would go. Out of revenge, he would collect more demonic forces. He would make Krishna's job very easy. Krishna didn't have to personally go and hunt down all the demons, he would get them. It was devotional service. So he was getting. And one day there was this particular friend of Jarasan called Pondra. And he was such a nonsense character, you might imagine. He had false hands. 4 hands. Heavenly people have 4 hands. He actually had placed false hands, and he would say, I am Vishnu. This Krishna is, he's an imposter. I am the actual Vishnu. Yeah, he's such a nonsense character. He had false hands, it's actually written in. He's such a fool that he's fooling himself. And Krishna, he looked at him and he said, what a nonsense character. I don't want to fight with such a person. He just said, what a waste of time. He immediately got off the chariot and he started walking away. This happened around in the region of Rajasthan. So there he is called Ranchod. Ranchod means Ranachor. He's one who ran away from the battlefield. That's actually a disgraceful name. But he is called out of love. Because he said that, I don't want to fight with such a person. What a nonsense character he is, give me some good warrior to fight with. Ye kya hai, He started walking away, and this Pondra, he's calling Krishna, Hey, Ranchod, kaha bhag raha hai, why you fight? Why are you running away from the battle? Fight with me. And Krishna is aram se walking. And Ranchod and then this Pondra is running after him, but he can't catch Krishna. And Krishna, it's mentioned in the Bhagavatam, Krishna is normally walking. He is not walking fast. He is normally walking, but Pondra cannot. Although he is running at his full speed, he cannot catch him. But Krishna is like, I don't want to fight today. So it's so Krishna he has his own mood. What do you say? Yeah, and then his own space, his own swings, and today I don't want to fight with this person. So with Putana also he said, today I don't want to do this. So when this Gadadhar, this devotee, he sung out this particular pastime, Pundrik Vidyanidhi, immediately he went mad. He started crying and he started showing all ecstatic symptoms. And at that point, Gadadhar realized that, oh my God, this person is actually a great devotee to understand this shloka. And he felt his heart is so pure that immediately he understood the bhava of the Lord and he is feeling such ecstatic symptoms. So the point that I was trying to make is that we might see a person, outwardly he might think that, oh, he's such a materialistic person, but heart is something that only Krishna knows. And a person who is a pure devotee will recognize immediately a pure devotee no matter what dress or what social status, what a person is. So here Krishna is revealing, he is saying that this 4.19, he is saying one is understood to be in full knowledge whose every endeavor is devoid of desire for sense gratification. And these are very internal things. We might not understand, but Krishna is the only one who will understand, who will know. And he says that person, although you might think that he is doing such, he is living a luxurious life, but because his transcendental knowledge filled in his heart, what is happening? All his reactions are being burned. This person is not entangled. Yeah, he is not going to come back and take a birth again. He is going back to the spiritual world for sure. Yeah. 20th. Tyaktva karma phala sangam नित्यतृप्तो निराश्रयः कर्मण्य अभिप्रवृत्तोऽपि नैव किञ्चित् करोति सः. Yeah? So here a person who is Krishna conscious, how do you identify him? How do you, now there is someone called a sadhaka. You understand what's a sadhaka? Sadhaka is a practicing devotee. Yeah, it's freezing. Can I switch it off for some time? There is a
There's no 20.
Oh, it's 21.
Yeah. Make it 25.
Yeah. Okay, 26, 25.
26 भी अब चलता है.
Ram has a feeling, can't write. Harungi nahi chalta hai. Who's a sadhaka? Sadhaka is a practicing devotee. You know what is sadhana?
Yeah.
Sadhana could be
Any form of devotion.
a form of devotion, or sadhan means some instrument, some means by what you're performing certain activity. Like we do japa to be better devotees. We are doing Hare Krishna. Yeah, we chant the holy names. That is our sadhana. So a practicing devotee, this person abandoning all attachments to results of his activities, ever satisfied and independent, he performs no fruitive action, although engaged in all kinds of undertaking. Such a person internally, he has renounced the fruits. He's got nothing to do with it. He's saying, I am doing it only for pleasure of Krishna. What am I going to see? Whether Krishna is happy or he is not happy. My personal motivation is zero. So that's the definition of a sadhaka, person who is practicing as a devotee. And then 21 and 22 describes, I'll put it together, we'll read it together also. When a person is perfect in consciousness, what are his symptoms? I think there are 9 points in this. We'll read the shlokas together and then I'll start numbering them down. .21 निराशीर्यत चित्तात्मा त्यक्त सर्व परिग्रह शरीरं केवलं कर्म पूर्वन्नाप्नोति किल्बिषम् 22 यदृच्छालाभसन्तुष्टो द्वन्द्वातीतो सविमत्सरः समः सिद्धावसिद्धौ च कृत्वापि निबध्यते. Right, now we are taking points. A person with perfect consciousness, a person who has applied transcendental knowledge, who understands transcendental knowledge. He is completely following principles of akarma. How does he behave? Point number 1. Such a man of understanding acts with mind and intelligence perfectly controlled. So what is the first symptom? Such person's mind plus intelligence is Can we all read that together? The first point? Yeah, together. Start.
Understanding acts with mind and intelligence perfectly controlled.
Yeah, point 2.
Gives up all senses of proprietorship.
Point 2 is gives up all sense of proprietorship. That means what? Writes a will and writes everything away. What's a sense of proprietorship and what is proprietorship?
Controller mentality.
Controller mentality, yeah, that is right. Me and mine. That means ye mera. This person has to behave only what I ask, or things should go my way or highway. Yeah, what happened?
She's saying mera book hai.
Yeah, so it's giving up sense, not giving up proprietorship, understanding that this belongs to Krishna. It's simply under my care for a particular period of time. So then when we have this particular mentality, to give up is more, becomes easy. When you understand that this thing is not mine. I suppose if Uma comes to stay at my place for a few days, and I get attached to her, then when her mother comes back and it's time for Uma to go back home, but she is my sister. I can't give her up. How will she feel? She will be like, but I belong to my mom. Right? So there'll be a day when she'll have to go back to her mother's house. So attachment, how is detachment easy when you give up a sense of proprietorship? You understand everything belongs to Krishna over his possessions. 3, it's simply under my care. Right now my quota. Yeah. Point 3, you read Achal, acts only.
Acts only for the bare necessities of life.
That means sleeping, eating, defending, that's it. What does this mean?
Definition of necessity
No
changes.
greed of anything.
Yeah, I mean, how do I know?
Shopping, more this, more that.
How do I know what is necessity?
Mobile phone is also necessity.
जितना मिला उतना necessity है. जितना मिला उतना necessity है.
And the mischievous motive.
That means bare necessities of life. How do you understand this? So actually having simple living, high thinking. If I have to eat, then what are the necessary things that I need to do around this? If I have to have a
Simple
good,
also, right? Instead of eating so many dishes.
actually so many dishes makes us lazy, makes us,
Yeah, definitely.
so many things. But you know that tomorrow if I have to get up early in the morning, then what do I have to eat and what time I have to eat? Everything. Then you start, your life starts following in a certain pattern. And then if you want to live a certain lifestyle which includes high thinking, then automatically you will have a simple lifestyle. But then that takes a little time, that takes a little practice. And so acts only for bare necessities of life. Thus he is working, he is not affected by
Simple, yeah.
Four points in this shloka. Can we repeat? I'm writing a short form for you. This pen is gone now.
You know science today?
Me? Commerce. Right?
We used to write this short form.
I'm lazy. I'm a lazy student. Point 1, mind intelligence perfectly controlled. Gives us sense of proprietorship. 3, acts only for bare necessities of life. Point 4, not affected by sinful reactions. And in verse number 22, 5th point. Who's going to read? Roma?
He who is satisfied with gain which comes of its own accord, who is free from duality.
There's only 1 point. I write slowly. Satisfied with gain means what?
He's done, but he didn't expect the profit, but he got it.
Yeah. gain which comes of its own accord. That means he will work the specific hours that the person is supposed to work. आना है तो आएगा. Overtly greed, too much greed. The greed that a devotee has is only for Krishna's service. All these 4.21 and 4.22, these actually both these, all the points that are given her is actually all the signs of a highly advanced devotee. To think like this is very difficult, huh? That I will not ask anything. If it has to come, I will come.
To think is not difficult. To think is okay.
To keep quiet.
Yeah.
To keep quiet. To actually follow this, satisfied with gain, means to understand that if things are supposed to happen, they are going to happen anyway. Things which are not supposed to happen will not happen anyway. No matter how much endeavor I put, when things don't go our way, what do we try to do? Manipulate, or maybe, just try to put it somehow the way we want it. But then it doesn't happen, it just brings in more frustration and stress. Or just be satisfied with gain which comes of its own accord. Be satisfied with what is there. And who is free from duality? What is duality? Basically, duality could be duplicity within also. Or not being too affected when there is distress, or too affected when there is happiness. Means stability, balanced. Does not envy. So the person understands what I have is my quota, what that person has is his quota. So what's the point of envy? Who is steady in both success and failure? This could be also in duality. The success and failure is again in duality, but I'm still right. Since Krishna has mentioned it separately. Success and failure. Person who is steady in both. The last is person is never entangled, although performing actions. If you actually notice, one leads to other. Now if you see all the points, one will lead to the other. When mind and intelligence is perfectly controlled, what happens? You won't have a sense of proprietorship. You know the knowledge is there in your head that everything belongs to Krishna. Everything is his property. It's under my quota, under my care for time being. So then sense of proprietorship is not there. When sense of proprietorship is not there, you will act only for bare necessities of life, which is bare minimum. And then not affected by sinful reactions. Satisfied with gain which comes of its own accord. Free from duality. Does not envy. Success and failure, a person is still steady and is never entangled in any activity. Entanglement could be attachment, could be a certain activity that you get addicted to. Such things won't happen. So 21 and 22 is all symptoms of a person in perfect consciousness. 23. गतसङ्गस्य मुक्तस्य ज्ञानावस्थितचेतसः यज्ञायाचरतः कर्म समग्रं प्रविलीयते है कल नहीं आए
कल शाम को है
कितने बजे
पैकेट अब कल के लिए
कितने बजे 5:30 तक तो नहीं आती I'll give them right.
Tomorrow also I think Anand because my class नहीं रहेगी.
कौन है?
He's not taking class. He's coming tomorrow morning.
He let me know. Before I forget. Yes, please. Sir. Looks like, huh?
One more.
No, bus.
He used to get it and that he was there.
No, that's a different language.
She'll have.
No, this is enough. Yeah. Thank you so much.
A separate person gets a separate packet. Like, she wants it, she's saying. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Something very
embarrassing.
important.
Something very embarrassing.
It is very important.
Hari Bol, 23rd. The work of a man who is unattached to modes of material nature, who is fully situated in transcendental knowledge, merges entirely into transcendence. Uska Hari Bol ho jata hai. Okay. Work of a man who is unattached to modes. Modes, there are 3 modes of material nature, we know. Rajogun, Tamogun and Sattvagun also. Because Sattvagun, sometimes people who are too sattvic, they could also become proud. They sometimes become even very rigid, very strong-headed. That is the, what do you say, side effects of sometimes, sattvic nature. A person becomes very closer to God also, but then also pride and all these things could also be certain traits. So a person has to be free from the 3 modes. He has to be transcendental, he has to go above. There's something called Shuddha Sattva. A person who is with perfect consciousness is called Shuddha, means pure goodness. The devotee is in pure goodness. There's something called mode of goodness, but there's something also called pure goodness. A person doesn't have any motivation.